The day Earth's communications erased picked up the first alien signal started like any other at NASA's Deep Space Listening Facility. The morning shift had just settled in with their coffee cups when the computers began lighting up like Christmas trees. What followed would change human history forever. Nathan Cole sat at his desk in the Pentagon, his blue eyes fixed on the incoming data streams. As a military strategist with 20 years of experience, something about these alien messages made his skin crawl. The Velhari Dominion, as they called themselves, seemed peaceful enough on the surface. Their messages spoke of cultural exchange and technological advancement. But Nathan had spent too many years studying patterns of conflict to miss the subtle signs. "Look at this," he said to his colleague Lisa Baker, who headed the newly formed Xenotechnology Research Division. He pointed to a series of diplomatic communications displayed on his screen. "They keep asking about our military response protocols. It's buried in technical questions, but it's there." Lisa pushed her red hair back from her face and leaned closer to the screen. She had been working around the clock, analyzing the bits of technological information the Velhari had shared. "You're right, and there's something else that's bothering me about their technology." The Velhari ships hung in high orbit, their sleek purple-black hulls reflecting sunlight like polished obsidian. To most observers, they represented the peak of technological achievement. But Lisa had noticed something peculiar in their design specifications. "Their whole military structure is built on doctrine," she explained, pulling up her own data. "Everything they do follows strict patterns. Their ships, their weapons, even their communication protocols. It's all based on predetermined responses." Nathan nodded slowly, like they're running on a script. "Exactly. They've refined their methods over thousands of years, but they never seem to deviate from them." Over the next few weeks, more signs emerged. The Velhari representatives asked detailed questions about Earth's defense systems, always couched in terms of cultural exchange. They seemed particularly interested in humanity's response to threats and conflicts. In a secure underground facility, military leaders gathered to discuss the growing concern. The room buzzed with tension as Nathan presented his findings. "They're not here for peaceful contact," he stated firmly. "They're assessing us for conquest. But they're making one crucial mistake. They're judging us by their standards." General Maria Reeves, a battle-hardened veteran, spoke up. "Explain." "The Velhari see our technology as primitive," Lisa added, stepping forward. "Our ships still use chemical propulsion. Our weapons are mostly kinetic. By their standards, we're centuries behind." "But that's where they're wrong," Nathan continued. "Human warfare has never been about following a set pattern. We adapt. We improvise. We overcome." He pulled up historical footage of Earth's conflicts, showing how human military strategy had evolved over centuries. The Velhari's overconfidence became clearer with each passing day. Their diplomatic messages contained subtle hints of superiority, suggesting that Earth would benefit from guidance and protection. They clearly saw Earth as a primitive world that would easily fall into line with their galactic order. But humanity had other plans. In secret facilities around the globe, Earth's military forces began preparing. Unlike the Velhari's rigid doctrine, human defenders focused on unpredictability and adaptation. Engineers worked to modify existing weapons in ways the aliens wouldn't expect. Tactical officers developed new combat maneuvers that defied conventional logic. Lisa's team made a breakthrough while studying Velhari shield technology. Their defensive systems are programmed to counter specific types of attacks, she explained to Nathan one evening. They'd never faced something they couldn't categorize and predict. Nathan grinned. "Then let's give them something unpredictable." The Velhari continued their subtle probe of Earth's defenses, unaware that humans had seen through their facade. Their ships maintained their perfect formation in orbit, their crews confident in their technological superiority. They had conquered countless worlds using their tried-and-true methods. Earth would be no different, or so they thought. In a hidden bunker beneath the Rocky Mountains, Nathan watched as the latest simulation results came in. Earth's forces had been practicing scenarios that would have seemed insane by conventional military doctrine. But against the Velhari's rigid systems, these crazy tactics might be exactly what they needed. "Sir," a young officer called out, "we're detecting increased activity in the Velhari fleet. Their energy signatures are changing." Nathan shared a knowing look with Lisa. The moment they had been preparing for was approaching. The Velhari would soon discover that humanity's primitive status was their greatest advantage. After all, how do you predict the actions of a species that takes pride in thinking outside the box? As the first signs of the Velhari's true intentions became clear, Earth's defenders waited quietly. They had no illusions about the challenging fight ahead, but they had something the Velhari didn't understand: the human ability to innovate in the face of overwhelming odds. The final days of peace were ticking away, but humanity wasn't going down without a fight. And it would be a fight unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Lisa looked out the window at the stars, knowing that somewhere up there, the Velhari were preparing their standard invasion protocols. "They think they know exactly how this will play out," she said quietly. Nathan stood beside her, his expression determined. "That's their first mistake. In all their years of conquest, they've never faced humans before." As the sun set on another day, Earth's defenders continued their preparations. The coming conflict would prove that sometimes the most dangerous opponent isn't the one with the most advanced technology, but the one who refuses to fight by the rules. The stage was set for a confrontation that would shake the foundations of galactic military theory. Humanity was about to teach the cosmos a lesson about the danger of underestimating a species that had turned adaptation into an art form. And somewhere in the vast expanse of space, the Velhari continued their preparations, completely unaware that their carefully planned invasion was about to run headlong into the most unpredictable force they had ever encountered: human ingenuity. Mary Sullivan stood on the bridge of the Earth ship, defiant, watching her crew run combat drills that would have made traditional naval commanders scratch their heads. The ship's engines were running dark as they practiced what she called gravity sling maneuvers, using planets' gravitational fields to gain speed without engine power. "How's that for fuel efficiency?" she muttered, watching the simulation results. The Velhari scanning systems were looking for engine signatures, not natural momentum. They'd never expect a warship to fight like a comet. Down on Earth, Kevin Walsh was having the time of his life in an underground testing facility. The civilian engineer had spent the last month figuring out how to turn old nuclear reactors into something the aliens wouldn't see coming. "The beauty of it is its simplicity," he explained to his team. "The Velhari think we've moved past nuclear fission. Their sensors aren't even calibrated to detect it properly." He pointed to the modified reactor core in front of them. "When this goes off, they won't know what hit them." The Velhari fleet had grown larger over the past week. Their ships moved in perfect geometric formations, each vessel keeping exactly the same distance from its neighbors. It was beautiful in a way, and terrifyingly predictable. Earth's preparation continued in secret. Military bases around the world had gone silent, appearing abandoned to orbital scans. In reality, they had moved underground, into hastily constructed bunkers, and repurposed mining tunnels. "They're expecting us to defend our major cities," General Sandra Chen explained during a classified briefing. "So that's exactly what we won't do." She showed plans for a network of mobile defense units, hidden in ordinary cargo trucks and farming equipment. "Let them shoot at empty buildings while we hit them from the cornfields." The first sign of the Velhari's true intentions came at dawn. 3 of their smaller ships broke formation and descended into the atmosphere, heading for major population centers. Right on schedule, Earth appeared to panic. Civilian broadcasts filled the airwaves with alarmed chatter, and military units made a show of scrambling to defensive positions. Kevin watched from his bunker as the alien ships took the bait. "They think we're following standard planetary defense protocols," he said to his team. "Time to show them how humans really fight." The Velhari ships moved exactly as predicted, following their ancient battle doctrines to the letter. They positioned themselves over New York, Beijing and London, ready to demonstrate their overwhelming power to Earth's largest population centers. But the cities below weren't what they seemed. Mary Sullivan and her crew on the Defiant had spent weeks helping to set up the deception. What looked like bustling metropolises from orbit were elaborate holograms, powered by modified television broadcasting towers. The real civilians are long gone, Mary reported from her hidden position behind Earth's moon, evacuated through the subway tunnels and underground highways. The Velhari are about to waste their first strike on empty streets and clever projections. Kevin's team finished their final checks on the modified nuclear devices. These weren't weapons. They were more like electromagnetic chaff, designed to confuse and disable rather than destroy. The Velhari's advanced sensors would be overwhelmed by radiation they'd been programmed to ignore millennia ago. "They think we're going to fight with our newest tech," Kevin said, making final adjustments. "Instead, we're going to hit them with the oldest tricks in the book." The Velhari launched their attack exactly as their battle computers had calculated. Energy weapons powered up, targeting what their scans showed as critical infrastructure. But the shots passed through holographic buildings, hitting nothing but empty concrete shells. Mary watched from the Defiant as confusion spread through the alien fleet. Their perfect formation wavered for the first time as their commanders tried to make sense of the readings. "Now," she ordered, and her ship began its slingshot around the moon, gathering speed without a single engine flare. Other hidden vessels did the same, using gravity and momentum like space-aged slingshots. On the ground, Kevin activated his devices. Old-fashioned nuclear reactors spun up to critical mass, not to explode, but to fill the air with electromagnetic noise that played havoc with Velhari targeting systems. "They're trying to recalibrate," Sandra reported from her mobile command center, disguised as a farm tractor in the Kansas plains. "Their whole battle plan depends on getting clean sensor readings, and we're feeding them nothing but static." The Velhari response was telling. Instead of adapting, they fell back on their standard protocols, beginning their usual three-phase invasion sequence. But each step fell flat, as they found their targets weren't where they were supposed to be. "Look at them," Mary said, watching the alien ships move in their rigid patterns. "All that advanced technology, and they can't handle a simple change of plans." Earth's defenders had learned from countless wars that plans rarely survived contact with the enemy. The Velhari, for all their power, had forgotten this basic truth over millennia of easy victories. Kevin's jury-rigged devices continued to pump out interference, hiding Earth's true military movements behind a wall of primitive radiation. The alien ship's advanced sensors, designed to detect and analyze the newest forms of energy, were blind to the old-school tactics being used against them. "They're starting their second attack wave," Sandra announced. "Right on schedule." She couldn't help but smile. The Velhari were fighting exactly as Earth's defenders had predicted, while humanity's forces remained hidden and ready. Mary brought the Defiant around for another slingshot maneuver, her crew ready for the real fight that was about to begin. They had shown the Velhari that humanity wouldn't play by their rules. Now it was time to show them how Earth really fought when backed into a corner. The coming storm would teach the galaxy's oldest civilization a lesson about the danger of perfect planning. Sometimes the most effective strategy is to throw away the rulebook entirely. As the Velhari fleet positioned itself for its next textbook attack, Earth's defenders waited in the shadows. The real battle was about to begin, and it would be fought in a way that would rewrite military doctrine across the galaxy. The storm was here, but not the one the Velhari had expected. They were about to learn why humans had survived countless wars, not because they were the strongest or most advanced, but because they were the best at adapting when everything went wrong. The Velhari launched their standard three-pronged assault just as the tactical books said they would. Their massive ships descended through Earth's atmosphere in perfect triangular formations, energy weapons charged and ready. They expected to find panicked defenders scrambling to protect their cities. Instead, they found something very different. Susan Martinez sat in her command chair deep within the lunar defense grid, watching the alien ships through carefully hidden sensors. She had spent weeks preparing for this moment, and now it was time to show the Velhari why betting against human creativity was a bad idea. "All stations ready," she announced calmly. "Let them get a little closer. Let them think they'd got us figured out." The Velhari fleet moved exactly as predicted, spreading out to cover their designated targets. Their sensors swept the ground below, looking for the defensive responses their battle computers had calculated. But the readings they got back made no sense. "Launch countermeasures," Susan ordered. Across Earth's surface, thousands of small objects suddenly rocketed into the sky. The Velhari sensors identified them as missiles, and their defense systems responded automatically, deploying energy shields in the exact pattern their doctrine demanded. But these weren't missiles. They were modified weather balloons, each carrying a payload of simple metal dust. As the Velhari energy weapons sliced through them, the dust scattered across their shield barriers, creating fascinating effects their sensor systems couldn't process. "They're trying to recalibrate," reported Paul Dixon, Susan's second-in-command. "Their shields are designed to stop energy weapons and high-tech projectiles. They don't know what to do with plain old metal particles." The Velhari ships held their positions, their computers struggling to analyze the situation. According to their battle doctrine, Earth's forces should have been firing their most advanced weapons by now. Instead, they were facing tactics so primitive their advanced systems couldn't properly categorize them. On the ground, John Harris coordinated the next phase of Earth's defense. His teams had placed old-fashioned artillery pieces in hidden positions, loaded with specially designed shells. These weapons weren't sophisticated enough to trigger the Velhari's early warning systems. "Fire when ready," John commanded. The ground shook as hundreds of artillery pieces roared to life, sending their payloads skyward. The shells weren't meant to penetrate the alien shields. They were designed to explode into clouds of engineered smoke that played havoc with Velhari targeting systems. Susan watched from her lunar command center as the alien fleet struggled to respond. Their formation started to waver as individual ships tried to deal with the unexpected threats. "They're breaking pattern," she noted with satisfaction. "Now we got them." The real attack began from directions the Velhari hadn't fought to guard against. Small, unmanned drones, their signatures masked by the chaos of metal dust and smoke, slipped through gaps in the alien defenses. These weren't sophisticated attack craft. They were basically flying battering rams, carrying dense blocks of tungsten. "Simple physics," Paul commented as he watched the drones impact. "No fancy energy weapons, no advanced technology. Just mass times acceleration equals force." The Velhari ship's shields had been calibrated to stop energy weapons and missiles. They weren't designed to handle the simple kinetic energy of heavy objects moving at high speed. Several alien vessels took significant damage, their perfect formation breaking completely. In orbit, more surprises waited. Earth's space forces had modified old communication satellites, turning them into makeshift weapons. As the Velhari fleet tried to regroup, these satellites began broadcasting on frequencies that interfered with their ship's internal communications. "They're trying to switch to their backup systems," Susan reported, watching the data streams. "But we're blocking those frequencies too. Everything they try to do, we've got a low-tech counter ready." The Velhari response was telling. Instead of adapting to the situation, their ships attempted to follow standard protocols for dealing with electronic warfare. But their countermeasures were designed to handle advanced attacks, not the simple jamming techniques Earth was using. John's artillery teams continued their barrage, filling the sky with more smoke and confusion. The Velhari ships were now firing randomly, their sophisticated targeting systems unable to find clear targets through the chaos. "Look at that," Paul said, pointing to his display. "They're actually moving backward. They can't handle not being able to see what they're shooting at." Susan allowed herself a small smile. The Velhari had expected to face Earth's most advanced technology. Instead, they were being defeated by the kind of tactics humans had developed centuries ago. Sometimes, the old ways were the best ways. "Launch the next wave," she ordered. More modified satellites moved into position, these ones carrying simple mirrors. The reflected sunlight dazzled the Velhari's optical sensors, adding to their confusion. The alien fleet's perfect formation had completely dissolved. Ships moved in different directions, their crews unable to coordinate effectively through the electronic interference. Some vessels had taken significant damage from the kinetic impacts, while others were practically blind from the combination of smoke, dust, and reflected light. "They're starting to pull back," John reported from the ground. "Their doctrine probably says they need to regroup and reassess when their primary strategy fails." Susan nodded. This was just the beginning, but they had proven something important. The Velhari's technological superiority meant nothing when faced with tactics their battle computers couldn't categorize. "Maintain defensive positions," she ordered. "They'll be back, but now they know this won't be the easy victory they expected." As the alien ships retreated to higher orbit, Earth's defenders began preparing for the next round. They had shown that humanity's primitive weapons could be effective against advanced technology when used creatively. The real question was how the Velhari would respond to this unexpected defeat. The battle for Earth was far from over, but the first round had gone to the defenders. Sometimes the best way to fight wasn't with the newest technology, but with the simple solutions that advanced civilizations had forgotten about long ago. Peter Hammond watched his fleet of converted mining ships drift silently through space. Once used for pulling precious metals from asteroids, these vessels now served a very different purpose. The Velhari battle computers had no category for them. They weren't warships, weren't armed with advanced weapons, and followed no known military doctrine. "Harvester fleet, maintain radio silence," he whispered into his comm unit. "Let them think we're just space debris." The Velhari had returned after their initial defeat, this time with a larger force. Their ships filled Earth's orbit like angry purple stars, their formation even more rigid than before. They were determined to follow their invasion protocols to the letter this time. On the bridge of the lead mining ship, Peter watched his sensor displays. The aliens had adapted their shields to deal with the metal dust and kinetic attacks from the previous battle. But that's exactly what Earth's defenders had expected them to do. "Right on schedule," Peter muttered. "They never learn." The mining ship's original purpose had been to break down asteroids using powerful magnetic fields. Now those same fields were about to be used as weapons. Not that the Velhari would recognize them as such. Their sensors were calibrated to detect energy weapons and explosives, not simple magnetic forces. Below, in Earth's atmosphere, the real plan was taking shape. Commander Lucy Reese coordinated the ground phase of the operation. She had positioned regular commercial aircraft around the globe, each retrofitted with special equipment. "All units in position," Lucy reported. "Weather patterns are perfect." The Velhari ships began their attack run, their formation splitting into predetermined patterns. Their sensors swept Earth's surface, looking for military responses. Instead, they found thousands of commercial flights going about their apparent business. "Now," Peter commanded. The mining ships activated their magnetic fields at full power. At the same time, Lucy's aircraft released their cargo, millions of tons of iron filings into the upper atmosphere. The Velhari didn't even notice, their sensors dismissing the metal as insignificant. That was their mistake. The powerful magnetic fields from the mining ships began to move the metal particles in coordinated waves. To the Velhari sensors, it looked like natural magnetic fluctuations. Their ships ignored it, just as they ignored Earth's natural magnetic field. Then the trap closed. "Pulse," Peter ordered. The mining ships reversed their magnetic fields simultaneously. The iron particles responded, accelerating at incredible speeds. They weren't fast enough to penetrate the Velhari shields directly, but they didn't need to. The waves of magnetized metal created massive electromagnetic disturbances. The Velhari ship shields, calibrated to stop physical objects and energy weapons, did nothing to prevent these magnetic fields from interfering with their internal systems. "Their navigation is failing," Lucy reported from the ground. "Half their fleet can't maintain position." The Velhari response was predictable. They tried to switch to backup systems, but these systems were just as vulnerable to the magnetic interference. Their ships began to drift out of formation, their perfect patterns dissolving into chaos. Peter watched with satisfaction as the alien vessels struggled. The mining ships continued their magnetic assault, creating waves of disruption that the Velhari battle computers couldn't predict or counter. Second phase, he commanded. Lucy's aircraft released their second payload, clouds of specially treated dust that reacted to magnetic fields. As the mining ships manipulated their fields, the dust formed into dense clouds around the Velhari vessels, blocking their visual and sensor readings. The alien fleet's response showed their fundamental weakness. Their battle computers, faced with a situation they couldn't classify, defaulted to standard defensive protocols. But these protocols were useless against an attack that didn't fit any known category. "They're firing blindly," Lucy reported. The Velhari energy weapons flashed through space, hitting nothing but clouds of magnetically controlled dust. Peter's mining ships moved closer, their magnetic fields growing stronger. The iron particles in the atmosphere began to coat the alien vessels' hulls, interfering with their sensor arrays and communication systems. "This is why you don't underestimate humans," Peter said to himself. "We'll turn anything into a weapon if we have to." The Velhari fleet was in complete disarray. Their ships drifted in random directions, unable to coordinate or even see clearly through the magnetically controlled clouds surrounding them. Their mighty energy weapons were useless against an enemy they couldn't target. Then came the final stroke. Catherine Rogers led her team of specially equipped shuttles through the chaos. While the Velhari were distracted by the magnetic attack, her people attached themselves to the hulls of several key vessels. "Boarding teams in position," she reported. "Beginning insertion." The Velhari, for all their advanced technology, had never expected anyone to try something as primitive as physically boarding their ships. Their internal security systems were designed to prevent high-tech infiltration, not people cutting through hulls with simple plasma torches. Catherine's teams worked quickly, accessing the alien ships through maintenance hatches the Velhari had never thought to guard. Within hours, they had captured 3 vessels, downloading crucial technical data before the aliens could stop them. "We've got what we need," Catherine reported. "Fall back to safe positions." The mining ships began to power down their magnetic fields. The iron particles dispersed, revealing the scattered remnants of the once proud Velhari fleet. The alien vessels hung in space, their systems compromised, their battle doctrine in shambles. Peter watched as the enemy ships began a disorganized retreat. They had come expecting to face primitive technology, only to be defeated by humans using that same primitive technology in ways they never imagined possible. "All units, stand down," he ordered. "Let them go. They'd got some thinking to do." The battle had proven something important. Sometimes the most effective weapon wasn't the most advanced one, but the one your enemy didn't expect you to use. The Velhari would be back, but they would never again make the mistake of underestimating human ingenuity. As Earth's defenders began cleanup operations, Peter couldn't help but smile. The galaxy was about to learn an important lesson about humanity. Give us a problem, and we'll solve it, usually in the last way anyone expects. The Velhari High Command faced something they hadn't experienced in 10,000 years: defeat. Their remaining ships limped back to their home territory, their perfect formations broken, their battle computers struggling to process what had happened. Alan Carter stood in the newly established Earth Defense Center, examining the technology Catherine's boarding teams had captured. As head of the integration project, he had a unique challenge: combining human innovation with Velhari advanced technology. "Look at this," he said to his team, pointing to an alien power core. "They've been using the same design for centuries. Never changed it because it worked perfectly. But what if we try something different?" Reports came in from across the galaxy. Other species had watched Earth's defense with great interest. The Velhari's defeat had shaken the established order of things. Representatives from various worlds began requesting meetings with Earth's military leaders. "They want to know how we did it," said Linda Foster, Earth's new diplomatic coordinator. Everyone assumed the Velhari were unbeatable. Now they're all rethinking their strategies. In their repair docks, the Velhari engineers struggled to clean their ship's systems of the magnetic contamination. Their standard procedures had no protocol for dealing with such simple but effective tactics. For the first time in their long history, they had to innovate. Alan's team made breakthrough after breakthrough. They found ways to combine Earth's unconventional thinking with Velhari technology. The results were fascinating. Hybrid systems that worked in ways neither species had imagined possible. The problem with the Velhari, Alan explained during a briefing, was that they stopped trying to improve. They found something that worked and stuck with it. Humans never stop looking for better ways to do things. The changes spread beyond military technology. Earth's approach to problem-solving began influencing galactic society. Species that had followed Velhari examples for millennia started experimenting with new ideas. Linda handled the diplomatic side of things. "We're not interested in conquering anyone," she told alien representatives. "We just want to be left alone to do things our way. But we're happy to share what we've learned." The Velhari themselves were changing. Their defeat had forced them to question their most basic assumptions. Young Velhari officers began studying human military history, fascinated by Earth's constant adaptation and innovation. "They're learning," Alan noted, watching reports from Velhari space. "For the first time in their history, they're actually trying new things instead of following old patterns." Earth's defense technology evolved rapidly. Alan's team developed new systems that combined the best of both worlds, Velhari precision with human creativity. The results were impressive enough to make even the most traditional alien engineers take notice. "Look at this hybrid shield design," he showed his team. "It uses Velhari energy technology, but adapts like our old flat screens. It learns from every hit it takes." Other species began sending their own scientists to Earth to study this new approach. The planet became a center for military innovation, but not in the way anyone had expected. Instead of focusing on bigger weapons, Earth's defenders emphasized creative solutions and adaptable strategies. Linda found herself hosting delegations from across the galaxy. "They all want to know our secret," she told Alan during a break between meetings. "I tell them the secret is that there is no secret. We just never stop trying new things." The Velhari eventually returned, not as conquerors but as cautious allies. Their fleet had been reorganized, their tactics revised. They had learned from their defeat, which impressed Earth's leaders more than their previous strength had. "You know what's really interesting?" Alan said, watching the Velhari ships approach in their new, more flexible formations. "They're starting to innovate on their own now. Our victory didn't just save Earth. It woke up one of the oldest civilizations in the galaxy. The new defense systems proved their worth. Earth's Space Force now combined the best human traits: creativity, adaptability, determination, with technology that could match any in the galaxy. But they never forgot the lessons of the Velhari War. Keep experimenting became the unofficial motto of Earth's defense forces. The moment we think we've got it all figured out is the moment we start losing. The galaxy had changed. The rigid military doctrines of the past gave way to more flexible approaches. Species that had been stagnant for millennia began to remember the value of innovation. Linda summed it up best in her report to the United Earth Council. "We didn't just defend our planet. We showed the galaxy a different way of thinking. Sometimes the greatest victory isn't defeating your enemy, it's teaching them how to be better." Alan continued his work, always looking for new ways to combine technologies and ideas. The Velhari defeat had opened up possibilities nobody had imagined before. Earth's position in the galaxy was secure not because of superior weapons, but because of humanity's greatest strength: the ability to look at old problems in new ways. As the sun set on this new era, Earth had earned its place among the stars. Not as the strongest or most advanced civilization, but as the one that reminded the galaxy of something it had forgotten: the importance of never stopping to learn, adapt, and grow. The war was over, but humanity's influence was just beginning to spread across the stars. And somewhere in the vast expanse of space, younger races looked to Earth, not as a primitive world, but as an example of what was possible when you dared to think differently.